So let's talk about the coffee, and not just
Yeah,
not just the
functional
product, not
mushroom
just the
coffee.
product, but as far as like the process of scaling a company and
Yeah,
challenges and looking at the landscape as far as influencer marketing and looking at exits down the road, and there's a variety of different things, right? So what's your thought process and how did this even come about?
that's a good question. Again, it come about from looking at cognition, right? I was thinking about what is the product of the future. I've been focusing on like functional mushrooms, adaptogens, nootropics for years, right? And as I've been going down this road of just like studying coffee itself, right? Coffee was one of those things that helped spark renaissances and revolutions, right? Like coffee, number one, is an African word. So is Java, so is Mocha. These are like regions in Africa. It first comes out of origins of Ethiopia. It was a guy playing flute, walking some goats, and then he noticed they start eating something and they start tripping out. Then he wanted to trip out and he ate the same thing and he figured out, man, this thing give you energy, right? And so when Europeans found it and they was able to do trade coming out of Java and taking it into Europe, right, going into Venice, that's when they started opening up these coffee houses. Then you get the ancient Moors used to have their coffee houses. These were spaces of intellect, right, where they had conversations about finance, right? It was like the first podcast space, if you will. And it democratized information and access, right? But it also left people stimulated, right? In spaces in like the Middle East and Muslim and Islamic spaces, it was called the wine of Islam because it was alternative to alcohol because they didn't drink alcohol, right? And so this generation is not drinking as much either because this generation did not grow up off of media-driven narratives from Hollywood when the liquor industry lobbied Hollywood to connect masculinity and popularity to liquor, right?
Mhm.
All our favorite rappers sold as our favorite drinks, right? So most of our practices and our rituals come from media, right, that was marketed to us. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, we just thought that drinking liquor was normal because in the movies, they never showed men at coffee houses having conversations. The warriors would meet up at the pub and talk about taking down the king. James Bond would have his martini shaken, not stirred. And they were smart enough to make sure that they didn't put one particular brand on there, right? So that you didn't think you were being marketed to and it automatically went into your brain. So instead, it was just connect liquor itself as an idea. And this came after prohibition with brands like Seagram's and things of that nature. So as I was studying in these spaces where they did first get coffee, which is just a stimulant versus a depressant, and they started thinking, right, the elites were afraid of this. Because they was like, we can't have our people thinking because they know when you have a cognitive surplus, that's when those renaissance start to spark off. People start doing deep thinking about the nature of, capitalism, if you will, right? Or empire, right? And they like, why did we have access like this? And why can't things be different? So I look at like, nootropics and adaptogens for our era is what we actually need, right? During this time of AI, not to speed up, but so that the future feels like it's slowing down for us because we are now in stillness. We now have more control over what we're doing. And I don't even want it to be, again, this revolutionary thing. I just want us to change our rituals and our habits to where the focus is clarity. Like most people are distracted with brain fog daily. They don't know about their
Mhm.
glymphatic system. They don't want to learn all these scientific terms. Just give me the rituals that I can do
Solution.
daily.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, number one, function, everybody drinks coffee, but functional mushroom coffee is something that stimulates the brain, it stimulates your cognition, right? And it becomes a daily ritual of intentionality and focus, right? And then of course you pairing that with the work that you're doing. So you start to have this neural adaptation. Like barbershops are like the last space that's left where men gather and talk.
Mhm.
But even that's decreasing because I know Shadi don't go to the barber all the time. He go have them come to him. You know what I'm saying? Like we want everything automated and fast.
Their convenience.
So that culture that sparks that change has disappeared. But if you look at the wellness trends, the wellness industry is booming right now, and the creator industry. So
Mhm.
I've been at that center of both of them already because you need a community first, right? And so we've been focusing on the SOPs, the framework of number one, developing the story so that people can understand our why and why we doing this.
Yeah.
You understand me? Like I've been traveling around, went to Boston. We were just at a Lips Cafe out here, and we had a coffee house conversation because we bringing back that ritual. We activating in these different spaces, people allowing us to use their restaurants, clubs, lounges. And it's like if you can imagine an alternative reality where where Hollywood did not feed us our identity and our rituals, then what would we do?
What would it look like?
All right. And so there's a lot of non-alcoholic beverages that's popping up. I had some earlier at Dumbo House, and it put me in a smooth mood. Same kind of mood you would get in with wine, but except you don't later on have this cognitive debt where you're waking up with brain fog, right? Instead, it's got magnesium and thiamine and cordyceps and lion's mane, all things that actually help you think and regulate your mood. And so in this time, right, more than ever, like you optimizing your consciousness is key. Your rituals are key. You cannot afford your old rituals. That's an old world, right? You can't, like, think about this. If you got somebody at work for you that drink too much, right, you're going to have to pay for their recovery because now they're not going to have peak performance on the days they're supposed to be working and thinking for your business. So now I know that you drink on Sundays. You know what? You can't come in on Mondays. You can only work on Tuesdays. And businesses are going to start checking for those things like, how can they increase your cognitive bandwidth? And how can we make sure we're getting the most out of the person we're working with? So when I say wellness is the future of wealth, I mean that 100%. Like the shift is in. If you see hike clubs, run clubs, number one, we need connection because people are lonely, right? And loneliness is 15 cigarettes a day. So it's making people sick, which make them over scroll and search for dopamine because they're not getting that connection, right? And so these are now these new spaces popping up to saying, well, you don't have to drink. Here's an alternative where they call sober social, right? And so I really think that our culture more than anyone needs it. You know what I'm saying? Like Black men at the bottom of the list when it comes to health. Then next is Black women. So why aren't we pushing these things on our people if we know that's what we need? It's trending and you can make money. It's social impact and social good, right? So I've been taking lion's mane and cordyceps for years because I used to have brain fog. That's why I started with the nootropic gold water, right? And then I started to graduate to even more, right? And it's more so about having that ritual because we got the prebiotic chocolate with the lion's mane cacao, everything we source ourselves. Everybody would tell you this is the best tasting on the market because like Rise and Mud Water tell you they're terrible. Even if you're not a coffee person, this is definitely for you. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, it's tastes that good.
I gotta have some.
And you can take it just straight black. You don't even need no sugar or
added to it. Yeah.
That was important, right?
Yeah.
And so we're gonna eventually, expand the product list. We got gummies, we have, CBD bombs and things of that nature. But everything is all about your increasing that cognitive capacity, your cognitive rituals.
It's interesting because I know if you're doing something, you've definitely researched it and you've studied it to a point where it's like, all right, this is what I'm going to use if I'm going to put it inside my body. I was listening to you as you were talking about the story. After the story, right? Because that's important. People have to believe in it. And obviously you have a core community that follows and believes in everything that you do, and rightfully so. What's the next plan for it? Is it to say, hey, we're going direct to consumer? Or are we looking to be in retail spaces? Are we being in select shops? How are we getting this out to the public?
So right now we're going direct to consumer and we're going to a retail shop. So in every activation, right, our goal is really to be able to work with these spaces that we activate, right? We were just at the last cafe. They are willing to switch out their current supplier, right, for us because number one, it tastes better, right? And they believe in the brand. So we're putting down, foot on the ground, really like flying out to each one of these spaces. And we're starting this off as a community movement, right? And that community movement, of course, allows us to build that trust with our customers. You understand me? And not only that, right, the clientele base that will want to order it wholesale as well, right? Because Supermind brand is not just coffee. Teas, it's coffee, it's going to be apps, it's going to be wellness events, et cetera, right? It's this whole renaissance that we're building out. And so I think building it that way, we get a loyal audience. Like we even have subscriptions, right?
I was going to say subscription models part of it.
Yeah, subscription model is heavy. And even like having a media component to that. Eventually we want a Supermind show, right? To where it's entertaining, it's educational, right? Because right now, creator media has to evolve to where you're building out a world, not just a brand, right? And so for me, we now develop like world building profiles for the brand. And so we're working that to try to figure out how do we build a great business before we try to scale the business, right? And so as we're working on the back end, we testing, we thinking about like we had some issues with when they had the tariffs, right? It turned the cost up went by like 2x. So we just waited it out. And then when the tariffs went down and they brokered the deal, we was able to get it. And now I'm thinking like I don't know what will be the future, right, of supply. right? So I might have to go take a shotty trip. You know what I'm saying? Go make sure I go speak direct to connect. You feel me? But then we also thinking like, okay, what if something does happen? Let's make sure that we have a surplus, right, of bags and things of that nature that we just sell on the side. But I also want to continue to transform the product. So I'm gonna have to go out there myself, right? So I can get that customizable look that I want. So when I'm building a company, I'm thinking it as a media company, I'm thinking it as an events company, I'm thinking it as a wellness company. The creator-led, which is now the benefit. People used to say, don't put your face out there. Now it's a benefit because people want to know who they support. They want connection. You know what I mean? They don't just care if it's popular and they see it everywhere. They got to have a reason why. That's how Gen Z shops.
Yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, because we've helped fund people that we don't believe in for years. And if they would have put their face on it, we'd be like, I'm not buying them. But if you put my brand next to somebody you don't like and it's the same exact brand, oh, I'm going with Keys. You know what I'm saying? So we're making those kind of decisions as consumers now. So for us, it's about having all of that built into the business at the beginning.
For those who are presented at InvestFest and want a chance to win the $125,000, can you walk them through the framework for how you pitch a brand and product? Because I love what you did. Like you started with historical data, then you went to empirical data, science-driven, how it benefits you. But for those who may not be as charismatic as you or great as an orator, what are some frameworks you can give them to help them win? And for everyone who's in the pitch competition, you should go back and listen to his pitch for his product 5 times. Master class in how to introduce a product, because most people will come in with benefit. It's better than Starbucks or Folgers because of this reason. But going back to the history of the product was key. Can you tell us more about how to establish a framework like that to make their presentation stand out?
Yeah, I think it goes into it's funny. We had a girl that came to an event last year at InvestFest. We had did like a pre-event for high-level club members, and she was about to pitch. And that was one of the things we was helping her with was communication, right? Communication is still number one skill set on the planet Earth that's needed, especially with a society who don't know how to talk to each other, right? And so for me, I know how to speak in different tones and references, but I always go to passion first. I think when you're passionate, you can speak about anything in a way that makes people believe. You know what I mean? But passion comes from a true place, right? So I can talk about numbers and things of that nature, but passion is infectious.
Yeah.
Right? It's how you make me feel when you're speaking and how I feel when I'm listening, which then is associated to the product that you're selling. So now if I feel this way, this is how I'm gonna feel about giving you money. Right? But let me know that you have a good reason why, because the more passionate the founder, I believe the farther the business can go.
I agree.
Right? And so I think you should focus on what makes you passionate about the business and what you're doing. Then second, focus on like we have somebody that we know knows what they're doing. They know they're solving the problem. They know they have the solution, and they know why they're the right person for the job. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if you focus on that human element first, because I think people start to getting the number. All the numbers can be, you can figure that out later. That might be a pitch deck. You feel me? But we're betting on the person, especially in this era, because everybody got AI, so everybody can sound good. You can script anything together. Back in the day, you really took that person's intellect to come up with every script and what they're saying. Now AI can come up with the best script in the world. So what makes me believe you? I need to know who the human is.
Yeah.
Right? Because your product may be a great idea, but we all got great ideas. What makes me bet on you? What's your passion? What's your action? Why is it gonna be like, man, I believe that person. I believe them so much, I'll give them money to fail. Because I know whatever they do after this is gonna be a winner.
It's gonna work. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But study your product, study nuanced things, no details. This is what I mean by deep work. Like a lot of the details I'm studying in. It's funny. What's our guy from Investopedia?
Oh,
Caleb Silver.
Yeah, Caleb. He gave me a book about coffee because he seen me speaking at Teach Jam about it.
Yeah,
and he gave me a book about how some of the revolution started over coffee. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when people hear you and they get invigorated, you feel me? And they want to be a part of that. Like that's important. So I would say speak from a place of passion. Anytime if you just told me to go on the InvestFest stage right now and speak, my first thought is, what am I passionate about right now?
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm not prepared, but my passion is always prepared, right? Because it's honesty. You know what I mean? So like what matters to me the most, like I see our people, I see family, I see the culture, I see society brain dead. You know what I'm saying? And I see us taking Black excellence, and Black excellence is a scam to where we can benefit off the collective at the detriment of society.